On the phone with us right now is Mr. Thomas Banks. Tom is the author of an excellent book out right now, available on Amazon, called Indefensible. Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
So, Tom, we got a chance to talk a little bit earlier today, and which was a great conversation. I appreciate your time and kind of getting to know each other before we got started here.
Same here.
So one of the things about Tom that I've come to admire even more is that he is a cigar aficionado.
Oh. Nice.
Yes. Yes.
So he fits in perfect with all of us.
Does your wife
there
let you
is a
smoke in the
perfect
house?
world out there.
Yeah, there is. Joe, you ask again?
I said, does your wife let you smoke in the house?
No, I do not get to smoke in the house.
I know. That's the question I get. The same thing is, it's my house. I can't smoke my cigar.
But Tom, you got to tell him where you were smoking your cigar when we were talking today, because that was.
This
perfect.
morning I was having a cup of coffee at a Panera on the patio, smoking a cigar and talking with Joe.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Damn, that's the coolest Panera.
isn't that
Oh,
great?
my God.
And where are you now?
I'm in Orange County, California.
That's why.
And they let you smoke near a Panera in California?
Well, I have to be on the patio out in the back where there isn't anybody, but that's okay.
All right. Was that the picture you sent me this afternoon?
I was actually at a neighborhood cigar lounge I frequent, and so I was sitting there smoking an Asylum 13. And since you sent me a picture of your cigars, I thought I'd send you one of mine.
We were sending cigar pics.
Okay. It sounds almost erotic. But,
Got a little romance going on here.
I'll show you yours or you show me mine.
Yeah, we got a little bromance here.
Yeah. So,
right.
Mine was a 770, so I think I had him beat.
Whoa.
Yeah, but my little Rocky Patel edges don't measure up to that. Yeah. So Tom, been reading the book, and I finished it this afternoon. And right after we spoke, I actually finished the last few pages. When I was talking to you, I told you I was in the last chapter. I was actually on. I had the Kindle format. I was on page 308 of 330. So I was right there at the end, and I have to tell you, an excellent book.
Well, thank you.
One of the questions I'd like to ask you though is why did you come with this book now?
Well, I was actually sitting at the same Panera with a dear friend of mine one evening, and a drone flew over, and I'm a pilot, and there was this. My buddy goes, "That looks like fun," and I said, "That looks like fun, but and it just dawned on me what was wrong, that this autonomous technology, and I'm a technologist, as exciting and alluring as it is, has a potential for some dramatic unintended consequences." And then 90 days later, Indefensible was done and published.
Actually, Joe and I were talking about this. We talk about this quite a bit actually before the shows go, about how the unintended consequences of technology.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking at the unintended consequences of security with the Apple situation. Mm-hmm. The intended consequences is to provide us all security and peace of mind. The unintended consequences, there's terrorist murderers in San Bernardino, California, that the FBI feels their investigation is stymied. And no one expected that to be the outcome. They were looking just to provide you peace of mind with your content.
Deja vu here. We were just talking, our last guest, who you just preceded, was a PI. And we were just discussing this with him, the Apple thing. Yep. And it was just how funny how you just transitioned right into it.
Yeah, well, he's an expert on the subject, and he was telling us that the reason they had this problem is because they actually bundled the investigation. What they did was they have this 10 password cutoff where the phone actually gets wiped out, and that's exactly what the San Bernardino police did. Unknowledgeable about the situation, and screwed up the whole phone, and now no one can get into it, not even Apple, according to our on-air expert anyway.
Yeah. So Tom, how is Indefensible relevant to our current times?
Well, it's pretty obvious that drones in and of themselves have migrated from becoming a Terry Theater application to our own backyards, from real estate agents wanting to take pictures of your house to Amazon wanting to deliver their goods and services. All of that sounds great, and the applications are good, but the reality of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of autonomous devices roaming around will in and of themselves cause challenges, irrespective of whether or not they're embraced by jihadist terrorists.
Oh.
Well, you put a good thing into a bad person's hands, and bad things are likely to happen.
Yes.
Right. It's no different than a gun. There's nothing bad about a gun. A gun has no soul. A gun has no purpose. It's the user of the gun, and therein lies the problem. The difference for me, however, is that the constitutional framer had made the decision that weapons or guns were your constitutional right. Drones, on the other hand, are a privilege. They're not articulated in the Constitution, and so I think they do subject themselves to a little more scrutiny and concern, and I don't really believe I have the right to pilot a drone. As I said, I'm a private pilot with a couple of thousand hours and instrument rating and multi-engine rating. And I'll tell you, the idea of a 3 or 4 pound drone impacting me at 4,000 feet is a little disturbing.
I can imagine it would be.
Do you think that drones should be banned?
I think that drones need to be policed dramatically. I think that registering drones is a total waste of time, because by the time the drone has crashed into wherever it's going, the little tiny registration number will no longer be visible. And we're seeing near misses in aviation a lot. In the last 6 months, there's been over a dozen near misses in aviation. And if we don't find a way to control their positioning, then I would think they'd have to be banned at some level. The real concern for me, though, is that drones are becoming a garage product. Any one of us can build a drone for a couple of $100, which would be totally autonomous, probably smarter than the Apollo spaceship when you get down to it.
Yeah.
And you add a half a pound of explosives or rice and poisoning, and you have a deadly weapon system that is invisible, indefensible. It's not noticed, and it's deployable from the shadows of a minivan. No one would ever notice.
Well, we were talking about this when Joey Ruse was telling me he was reading your book, and he was describing how in the book you talk about terrorists launching one of these and flying it right into a building or something like that, or into Central Park. And I said to him, I said, thinking about it, there's one of those things that you, as an average person, you would never think about.
Right.
But then when Joe posed that to me, I said, wow, I could imagine how easy it would be for somebody who wanted to attack us to just fly one of these through an open office building window and then blow it up.
Yes.
Yep.
Or, as depicted in my novel, the terrorists there were a lot more insidious and were equipping the drones with rice and poisoning, which you and I could make in our kitchens out of castor beans. And ricin is so deadly, less than 2 milligrams will kill you, and there is no antidote. And so if you took the GoPro camera off of a drone and put 6 ounces of ricin on it instead, that's enough deadly force to kill a couple of 100,000 people.
Wow.
That is scary.
It is.
It is very scary. In the book, when the jihadists attacked Bush Stadium, in the end of that scenario, Bush Stadium would be a contaminated environment for many years to come, because how do you get all of that out of there? Wow. If you remember the TV show Breaking Bad, the antagonist in the TV show ended up killing that lady with 1 grain of ricin.
Mm. That's incredible.
It's just blowing our mind right now. Blows our mind.
Well, you're welcome to a big club. I'm hearing from people literally all over the world who are writing me, and they're saying the same things. I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very timely subject, given, as you said earlier, the amount of near misses of drones in the air with commercial airliners, and I mean even Amazon uses drones now, don't they?
Right.
So it's a very timely story, and I think that it's something that a lot of us really need to really consider, because you can't hear these things coming until they're right on top of you.
They're just a little subtle buzz. I mean, it's something we wouldn't notice. We didn't hear the airplanes coming in 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And we clearly didn't have a response capability at the ready. And I can tell you from my knowledge of technology and such, there is not a response capability that will work. And I believe I depicted a number of them in Indefensible that was a waste of time or didn't have its own consequences. When in one chapter in defense of the White House, they applied an energy weapon, which is really a weapon being developed by Boeing, and they killed some of the drones, and they also took out a gas tanker on Connecticut Boulevard and blew that up and killed a bunch of people all by itself.
Wow,
No one intends for these things to happen, but it's like whacking at a swarm of bees. How do you compete with that?
That's right, yeah. So what do you think it's going to lead to? Government legislation against drones, or some sort of licensing system, so like firearms? What do you think will happen?
I think what's going to happen is we're going to see the government take a stand ultimately that there needs to be very active control over access to these devices. Yeah, even Stephen Hawking said in August of last year, the most dangerous threat that's posed to man today is autonomous weapon systems, and he said they're going to become the Kalashnikovs of the 21st century, which means they're going to become ubiquitous.
Absolutely.
Do you think that? How long do you think before the government will do something about these drones? I mean, right now they want people to lodge them with the FAA, everything, register them and all that BS, which is just a load of crap. Yeah. But I mean, do you think it's going to take like a major catastrophe before the government will step in, or do you think they'll be proactive?
But isn't that the history? It usually takes something tragic to get the attention.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when we see a tragic event, whether it's the downing of an airliner, the crashing of a private plane, we've had encounters with firefighter aircraft. These are all problems. Even in our own state of California, our genius governor rejected a bill to prohibit drones from being flown around for real estate purposes. Mm-hmm. But he wouldn't sign a bill that prohibited drones from being flown around fires when aircraft are fighting fires in the cities and mountains of California. There's this disconnect that exists, and until there's a catalyzing event, and I fear that it's going to have to be something tragic, I don't think that our government is going to take this seriously. The registration initiative of the FAA last year, as noble as it was, less than a third of the drones that were bought were actually registered. So now we're creating a bunch of criminals of people who are non-registration compliant drone operators, and imagine swarms of these things, even if they're benign and they're not equipped with explosives, but they're just some nitwit that thinks he's having a good time and he impacts an airliner.
I'm a total idiot with these drones. I don't own one, nor do I want one. I think they're the most retarded thing to ever be created. That's just me.
I always thought of them as toys.
One second, Joe. One second. I do have a question. Wasn't it, what was it, half a pound or 5 pounds they had to be in order for you to register them? What was it, 5 pounds, I think, right?
Yeah, they have to be upward. They can't be, I don't think they can weigh more than 8 pounds, and they have to be, if they're under like a pound or so, like the little tiny drones you buy at the mall that are sitting in the kiosks, little 6-ounce,
right,
quadcopters you buy for your children, those don't count. But once they have the carrying capacity of a half a pound or more, they start to become serious vehicles.
Couldn't someone in their garage build one? Like under, let's say, the 5 pounds that it takes to register it with the FAA and, like you said, make it into a weapon?
Oh, sure. I recently shared a post of a drone that was built out of Legos. Ooh. And as I shared with you this morning, I recently reviewed a computer circuit board that you can buy that's smaller than an iPhone in terms of form factor, and it's just as thin as a circuit board that has all of the technology on it to control the motors, GPS, gyroscopic handling, power control, all of this. And all you have to do is plug the motors in and a battery, and the computer costs $5.
Wow.
$5, not $50, not $500, $5.
That's
so
scary.
4 little electric motors, some wire, a battery, and 2 sticks that you glue together, and you've got a drone.
Oh, we're looking at the picture right now. Here it is. Joe,
Oh, you got it
see
up?
it? Yeah, it's up there right now. Yeah, we're looking at the Lego drone right now.
Right.
That's crazy. Just to
It
think
is.
that somebody could build something like that out of Legos.
And imagine, I don't know about you gentlemen, but I have 2 boys, one's 22 and one's 9, and we probably have about 12 million pieces of Legos in the house. So I could probably
Wow, you
build
could
a
make an
fleet
army.
with all the Legos I have.
You got a militia there.
That's right.
Good Lord.
It is a frightening concern, and the fact that they are indefensible because they fly low to the ground, they're below the radar, they're too small to have a radar footprint of substance, they travel slowly, they're quiet, people don't notice them, and no one's going to come in from one location with 50 drones and let them all go. They're going to launch them from 50 locations from 10 miles away, and that would mean our law enforcement would have to be searching a circle of 700 square miles. So if you were 10 miles out from downtown New York City, imagine all the locations a drone could be released that would be relatively innocuous. Some park, a hillside, behind some garage. And you open the sunroof of your soccer mom minivan and let the drone slip away and drive off.
That's a scary thought.
It is, and Tom.
But it's eye-opening, too.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And one of the things about your book that I thought was really excellent was the fact that you're so detailed with your description of the technology. You're so descriptive of the scenarios around you. Where do you get your sources for all this?
Well, other than the brilliance that I contain of information that I've developed over 30 years in technology, I actually have at my disposal the most powerful tool on the planet. I have the internet. When I was writing the chapter with respect to the drones being imported in from Mexico, I was able to go online, find the city in Mexico, find the city across the border, right down to the name of the street the golf course was on where the jihadist waited for his drone. The availability of content is amazing. I'm actually quite amazed that I haven't been called by the NSA or Homeland Security based on the kind of things I've researched.
Well, that was
Good Lord.
That was another question I was going to have: have you had any contact from anybody from the government about the book and about?
No, I haven't, but I can say when the book first came out, one of the first places where the book was purchased was Washington, D.C., because I can track that on Amazon. And so somebody in Washington, D.C. owns my book. I don't know who it is, but I do know
Wow.
that somebody bought it there. And what are the odds that it's just some guy in Washington, D.C. that bought my book?
Some random Joe just was like, this book looks interesting.
Right.
I'm surprised the government. I'm surprised the Mexican drug cartel hasn't reached out to you to ask you how they could ship their drugs this way with a drone.
If you saw my latest tweet today on Twitter, at Drone on One, I tweeted out that yesterday in Oklahoma they intercepted a drone that was bringing in cell phones for the inmates.
Oh man. These drones are going to be the ruination of the world.
I'll tell
Well,
you.
think about it. As benign as bringing in cell phones, obviously bringing in drugs and weapons.
Sure.
These are some very provocative ideas that somebody said to me, "Do you think you should have written the book? Because what if a terrorist reads it?" And I said, "Are you joking?
Really, right?
You don't think they already know about this?"
You think he has to read my book to figure that out?
Yeah, I don't think I am the smartest, sharpest knife in the drawer. And the reality is, there are a lot of bad people out there that look to co-opt good technology to apply it against us. And I illustrated in Indefensible that it isn't just some people in the desert of Iraq or Islamabad or any place. It happened to be Kim Jong-un. He stepped up and helped out with the terrorist activity in my novel.
Uh-oh.
That's a guy we all got to watch out for.
We do,
Oh,
and
Lord.
I tell you, this guy's going to make a great movie.
I wrote the book as a call to action more than anything else because I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not worrying about the government stealing my stuff. I'm more worried about us ignoring threats that we will wake up some morning and be blindsided like we were on 9/11, as you shared with me today, Joe. That was such an intimate event for you. That was so stark and striking because you were going to take pictures of the lights being shut off the next night.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's how fast and devastating this can be. The 14 people killed in San Bernardino were just hanging out doing their job.
Really, yeah.
That's usually how it goes. Just, the average Joe doing his job and gets caught at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right. But now we have given some people, I'll just call them terrorists, we've given them, through technological advances and accessibility, access to technology that is far beyond model airplanes. I was joking with a friend of mine, and he said, these drones have given RC model airplane pilots a bad name.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Because now everybody's a culprit.
Right. So, yeah, Joe, I'm sorry.
I just you can make a weapon out of anything if you really had to. If you ban that, something else will pop up. There's no end to it. I think we just have to change the outlook of human beings. It's part of our character to be violent in one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, Tom, earlier today when we were talking, I asked you, so any plans for a sequel?
Oh yeah, the sequel's in the works as we speak, and I'm very excited about it because clearly as you read Indefensible, I hope that it left you with the sense that it's not finished.
Oh, absolutely did.
And I don't want to take anything away from readers out there, but I'm quite excited about the sequel, and I believe I have an answer, and I think the answer is going to be interesting, and we'll see how it plays out. But it's my biggest fear is that we ignore this, and my hope is that more people read the book, more people start dialoguing about this issue. And you gentlemen, taking a leadership role, and inviting me on today is an example of the sensitivity that this is not somebody crying wolf. This is not a sky is falling Chicken Little situation. This is very serious, and I'm fearful that our leadership is not going to be thinking about this until it's too late.
Well, what's funny is that not that funny, but what's interesting is that this is a topic that isn't being widely discussed. It's something that most people probably don't even realize could happen, or any of the situations that we proposed tonight, and then some could happen. Everybody just thinks, I'll just buy a drone and cool, like I could just videotape my neighbor lounging in the backyard in the pool. But,
right.
When you start breaking it down and thinking about it on the level that you're thinking about it, it's really scary what these drones could be capable of doing.
Right. It gives people the ability to project with impunity pretty much anywhere they want to go.
I know it opened my eyes to these drones.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So this is the On-Air Radio Show. We are speaking with Tom Banks, the author of the book Indefensible, available on Amazon.com. Tom, where else is it available?
Oh, that's the only. It can be bought at any bookstore that carries that distributes with Amazon. It's available in Kindle and paperback. You can go to my website indefensible.org, and you'll be able to read about me, and I have some blogging activity going on there, and follow me on Drone on One at Twitter, and strike up a conversation because I want to be part of the discussion. I invite everyone.
We follow you on Twitter.
I know you do.
We have the Twitter line right here. We're reading it. I'm reading it right now. But it's a scary thought how a toy could just be so devastating.
Absolutely, and it's resonating with people. About 3 weeks ago, when I launched my Twitter feed, I had 80 people following me. Today, I have about 7,000.
Damn.
And I have no idea how that happened. I didn't buy the Twitter leads. I didn't do anything. It started going organically, and people were resonating with it. And I hear from people every day through direct messaging on Twitter that they are afraid. I hear from people reading it in London and Australia, and they're saying, "I'm afraid. I couldn't sleep last night reading your book."
That is just from what he went to 7,000, like that short a time span.
That's all
just
word of mouth.
shows you, right? Just shows you though that this is a subject that some people out there are actually thinking about.
Like Tom said, it's resonating with the people.
I'm going to have to read this book. I'm going to have to borrow your book.
You got it. No problem.
And I will be sending you a signed copy, Joe.
Thank you very
I've
much.
got that queued up.
I do appreciate that, sir.
If you get an opportunity,
absolutely.
I will. If you could send me one too, that'd be great. I'd like to read this book.
I will send 2 copies.
I'm actually quite, because I didn't get to read the book. Joe did. He read it on the Kindle, and when he started telling me all this stuff, it's just like the little light bulb above my head went on, and I was like, this sounds like a book I would actually read, because I'm not a reader.
Jay, how many times did I call you and say, Jay, you have to read this part?
Oh my God, he must have called me at least 3 times, 4 times during the day. You have to read this. You have to read this.
Wow.
I'm like, wow.
Well, that's very kind of you, gentlemen. It was one of the most fun things I've done in terms of the creative process. I didn't know I had a novel in me. And as I shared with Joe today, when I first had it printed out, I didn't realize how big it was, and I took it to Staples on my thumb drive because I didn't have enough ink in my inkjet printer. I knew that. And when he handed me this gigantic pile of paper, and I'm holding my 1-inch binder I brought with me, and he hands me 4 inches of paper, I go, "What the heck is this?" He goes, "It's what you asked us to print." I never had printed it out, so I didn't think of it, how thick it was. It was just a big Word document. So, what a glorious experience it was, and I just am humbled by people's response. I had no idea that I would get this kind of response.
Yeah.
Once again,
my expectation is it will become a movie. I see that in the works.
I was going to ask if he had any ideas of that becoming a movie.
Well, make sure that when you cast the part of the budding young radio interviewers that you pick people who are particularly handsome, because I think
looking at your pictures here, you guys are made for radio, and I will make sure that happens.
Ain't that the truth?
Not unlike myself, believe me.
Outstanding.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow Thomas Banks on Twitter at DroneOn1. All right, make sure you join him. And it's the number 1. It's DroneOn1. Well, not the number sign, but you know what I mean. Anyway, follow him on Twitter. Go to his website. Get this book, because my boy Joey Ruse read it and said that it's amazing. So if he gives it the thumbs up, then we all give it a thumbs up.
I give it 2 thumbs up.
There you go.
But Tom, before we let you go,
yes, sir,
we have to ask you this question: who's your horse in this race?
In this race?
In the politics race?
In the beginning, I was very much a Jeb Bush fan because I believed I believe he's a smart guy, but I couldn't believe that he couldn't mount a campaign. I thought Donald was going to be a punchline, and then after a few months, I started to realize that Donald isn't the punchline. He is a populist, candidate, and it is resonating. And I actually like his thinking. I'm 63 years old, and why are we not better off after 63 years of politics as usual? So as the old saying goes, insanity is when you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results.
So true.
I'm interested in a change, and I'm voting for Donald Trump.
I am too.
It's all about change. It really is.
I agree.
Can't have politics as usual anymore.
I think that's why he's going to be the man, because he's not the typical politician. Been saying that since day one that we've been on the radio. But
and we are seeing that with the reaction of the people. We're seeing that with the turnout. I'm impressed. Is he clumsy? Is he a little unpolished? Yes, but I think people like the fact, because that just means he's transparent.
There you go.
And he has no agenda. He just wants to be president.
Just like one of us going out there and running for president. That's basically what he is. He's just the average Joe.
It's the American dream at its finest.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Anybody can be president, and he's demonstrating it. And
more
power to him. He's
$100
getting my vote.
Well, Thomas, we appreciate you coming on and giving us this opportunity to discuss this with you. When you come out with the second book, we want to be the first to know, so we'll have you on again when that time comes.
You will have it, I promise.
Thank you, Thomas. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Thomas Banks.
All right, thank you.
Author of
Thank you so much.
Indefensible.
God bless you guys, and have a great evening. And good show. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Tom.
We will be emailing you a copy.